I have an idea for a cartoon. I said, great, I have an idea for a bypass. Which I do, but, you know, I wouldn't use it. Now, each of these artists every week is doing 10 or 20 ideas. That's the nature of it, and that really is the craft of it, and that really takes many years to be able to do it, to find sort of your collective unconscious to generate the ideas. So 1,000 cartoons come into the magazine every week, and we hand out, we regret, and we're regretful about, you know, 983 times a week, because we only use about 17 cartoons for the magazine. And really, it's astounding all the people who do send cartoons to the magazine. And I'm always amazed, given this huge amount of rejection, that young people, like these young people, these are all young cartoonists for the magazine in their 20s, maybe early 30s, come in and do this. And, you know, yet the fate pretty much is this. But this is an interesting craft because it's a craft that is dependent on rejection. That is actually how you sort of hone your skill in it. Doing it completely in the abstract, where you show it to your mother, your father, your family, and they say how great it isn't the real test. And the thing often that distinguishes people who are able to persist in this craft is not just talent, but persistence itself. I found that there are a number of people who come and have talent, but what they don't have is any appetite for rejection. Well, no one really has an appetite for rejection, but you need an enormous tolerance for it, and especially the people who've come out of very coddled environments in which their parents quelled every time they did something. They're most susceptible, really, to this type of sort of withering under rejection. Idea of people who, when I became cartoon editor, I received this note from David Mamet. It said, "Dear Mr. Mankoff, congratulations. I've taken the liberty of sending you a batch of cartoons." There is a sort of conceit among writers, because they write long and they write complicated, that this form is very, very simple. And it isn't simple, and maybe I was a little bit snotty when I sent back this note to David Mamet. But you can go up online, you can look at David Mamet's cartoons, and you say whether or not you agree with me. I mean, one of the things is he has no rejection. He simply accepts all his cartoons. So even with all this rejection, we produced quite a few cartoons. When we published the complete cartoons of the New Yorker in 2004, we had totaled 68,647. Incidentally, that book, if you enter the caption contest, I'll do a little cartoon in that book. And if you enter it, I'll sweeten a little bit with a 20. But one of you said, well, how can you be absolutely sure that you got every single cartoon? Well, as a standing offer, because this is the New Yorker, for $10 if you can find anyone we missed, and 20 if you just shut up. One of the reasons we actually knew is that part of the craft of the New Yorker cartoon is the New Yorker magazine itself, its ethos. So right since 1925, it kept records of everything published, including the cartoons. These are all these volumes here of all, not only the scrapbooks, not only the pictures, but actually verbal descriptions of every single cartoon, not in one volume, but in every place, sort of keywording it. And that page over there shows you that. When we created the Cartoon Bank, I scanned all those and used OCR on it, optical character recognition, and created the database. So there's my book over there, and when you die, they put in this little part. And that's actually true. They put in that part, and they put in your obituary. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they're sort of worse places to be. The other thing they do at the New Yorker is they fact-check every cartoon. So over here, we get back these they type them out, we get back, you know, this cartoon over here says, he's a working dog, but I don't know what he does, and here are the two cartoons that were similar to it. So we check to see whether any cartoon has ever been done before, and we don't want to repeat it, even if it was done 50 years ago. And we also fact-checked all the cartoons. And you say, what do you mean fact-check? Well, Let's say a dog walks into a bar. Well, that's okay, and the dog is about 6 feet tall, and that's still okay. And he's wearing a suit, and he walks up to the bar, and he asks for a scotch and toilet water. Well, all that's okay, but it's a joke. But if the button is on the wrong side of the suit for a guy, then the artist redraws it. I know what it's like. All this rejection, I don't like to inflict, but I know what it's like because I've been on the other side. I quit a career, quote unquote, in experimental psychology to become a cartoonist in 1974, and I started submitting cartoons to the New Yorker. For 2 years, I submitted 20 or 30 cartoons every week, and, rejection, rejection, rejection. And I was actually selling cartoons to other magazines at the time. But finally, I did sell a cartoon to the New Yorker. Now, of course, that's not actually what the response, but that's how I felt. Here are some of the early cartoons I sold to the magazine. This is Fish. There is no justice in the world. There is some justice in the world. The world is just. In each of my cartoons, and what we look for in the New Yorker, I mean, we do a lot of things. We do ridicule, and we do the ludic, the play, but many of the cartoons, and I think sort of the core of what makes a New Yorker cartoon is that there is an idea, there is a communication here through the medium of humor. And the communication really is from a person to a person. When I did this cartoon or this cartoon, hi, I'm, you'll have to forgive me, I'm terrible with names. I'm doing it because it's something I actually feel, like, connects with me emotionally, and I'm really just showing it to one other person. I'm not. Here I'm showing it to a group. And that's the basic impulse behind the New Yorker cartoon. That's really the craft, and where it goes back to this radical part of being very, very simple. It's the simplest impulse because when I was in school and not the best student, and I'd be drawing cartoons, and the teacher would wheel around and say, Robert, if it's so funny, maybe you'd like to share it with the rest of the class. Well, I said yes. And that's really what the cartoonist wants to do for the magazine, for the New Yorker anyway. I don't think that's true in every comedy milieu. Because sometimes you're not necessarily pandering, but you're not seeing the audience as the same as you are. And when a young cartoonist comes to me and says, I want to be a cartoonist, what would you like? What do you want me to do? And I say, I don't want you to do anything. I want you to do what you want to do. And the process is, you do what you want to do. I hope that I like it. I show David Remick. He likes it. And then he likes it. It gets published. And then we hope you like it. But there's no trying to figure anybody out. There's a genuine expression of a humorous impulse that hopes that it gets transmitted. Some more cartoons. It's called What Lemmings Believe. I'm sorry, dear, I wasn't listening. Could you repeat what you said since we've been married? As a matter of fact, you did catch us at a bad time. Now, that's product placement. Now, the thing about the cartoons that I do, and I think the New Yorker does in general, is that, look, there's an evolutionary basis for laughter, and the things that you laugh at the most are not cartoons or even jokes. It's just your experiences in everyday life. For the most part, if you can, people will laugh hysterically at bloopers. There's nothing to get. Somebody made a mistake. People will laugh at America's funniest home videos. Somebody fell down. Nobody's scratching their head and say, I don't get it.